I've got a fun one for you guys today.
Gunday!
What's going on, everyone? My name is Talon Sai and you are watching Sunday Gunday. I hope you're all having a great Sunday so far. The gun we're taking a look at today, in my opinion, doesn't really need an introduction. It's so iconic in movies and TV references all over the place, so we're just gonna jump directly into the UZI Pro Pistol by IWI. This Pro Pistol is a modernized micro Uzi based on the world famous UZI submachine gun. And I hate to burst your bubble and my own, but this one is semi-auto. The new blowback operated 9mm UZI Pro includes some new features like the polymer used in the lower section of the receiver, resulting in a lighter weight platform. Compared to the old school Uzi, the magazine release on this one has been relocated to a more practical location on the pistol grip, and the charging handle has also been moved from the top of the pistol to the left side of the receiver. This allowed for the addition of a full-length Picatinny rail to the top of the pistol, where I've mounted up a Nikon P-Tac Spur red dot for today's testing. There's also an additional accessory rail up front underneath the 4.5-inch cold hammer forged barrel. I opted for the version with a side-folding SB tactical brace because why not? And the Uzi also shipped with two 25-round stick mags. Alright guys, here we go. We got a little bit of snow coming down on the range out here today. Hopefully I can shoot this thing and get a good handle of it before it starts getting too bad. Hopefully this red dot is on. I really just threw it on there. Shoot this thing. Well, it's on and it seems to be pretty damn accurate too. Hell yeah. Alright, switching things up today. I'm back inside now. It did end up snowing yesterday when I was up at the range, so I figured I might as well do all of the long-winded talking parts indoors. So first mag impressions with the UZI Pro Pistol. We'll just talk about how it feels to shoot. Now I guess I'll actually start with the brace and talk about why I opted for it. And mainly it's because of the ergonomics. If you've ever put your hand on an Uzi pistol before, you'll know that wielding this thing is a little bit awkward. Without this third point of contact on here, you would kind of grip this up like you would a normal pistol and kind of push out, use the pretty standard looking iron sights and just shoot it like this. Now I know the nature of a more traditional or standard Uzi, so I figured that I would much rather shoot this thing with a brace. One of the main reasons why I thought that is because there is a huge piece of steel in here moving back and forth. Now while this package is pretty lightweight because of the new materials that IWI is using in the lower receiver here, it's like a fiber reinforced polymer, the bolt in this gun is still pretty big and heavy, so as you shoot and that thing blows back to cycle a new round, you're going to end up feeling that thing probably even more so now that this is a little bit lighter than the previous versions. So when I have this thing pulled into my shoulder, it's definitely a very compact package. You kind of really have to like suck your arms back to get down on the sights here. Now as this bolt is coming back, the charging handle is also reciprocating. Not a huge deal, you obviously just have to keep your thumb down out of the way. When I first got my hands on this, it's kind of awkward because you don't know where you want to put everything, but I just sort of gripped it like I would a normal pistol and just kind of hunkered down. Now the recoil impulse of this thing is pretty extreme for such a small package, but that's kind of to be expected because of the nature of an Uzi. Now that I think about it, I probably would not want to shoot one of these full auto without a brace. When you see Uzis in movies, a lot of times they're kind of sticking them out like this, one-handed and shooting and just kind of praying and spraying all over the place, and in my opinion that would be pretty accurate. It doesn't seem like this gun would be the easiest to control, however, with the addition of the SB Tactical Brace, keeps things really manageable. Now as far as the controls go, you do have the charging handle over here. It's smooth enough, I guess, for what it is. And then you have this sort of weird position for a safety right over here. I can kind of get to it with the thumb of my shooting hand. I can also put it back onto safe with my support hand thumb. It's kind of weird, but I mean, it's there. And then of course you have the grip safety on the back here. You will not be able to pull that trigger unless that is depressed fully. Another thing that I have noted is that you cannot cycle this gun without having a firm grip on there. So although this overall design is fairly old, there's still some safety mechanisms in there to keep this thing functioning reliably and safely at the same time. Now another thing to mention about this new design is of course how they moved the magazine button to right here. Feels right at home, just like any other pistol that you might be familiar with shooting. And then they also moved the charging handle from the top over here to the side, which allows them to put a nice big Picatinny rail on top. Now if you're going to be shooting an Uzi without a brace and you're holding it out in front of you, the dovetail sights on here would work fine. Here you can see it looks like a pretty standard dovetail that you would find on any pistol, and then there is just one dot up front. Now the problem with these sights start when you put a brace on here and you have this thing up against your shoulder. You could sort of equate this feeling to taking any pistol handgun and just holding it right up here to your face like this. When you're holding the gun in this close to you, it's going to throw off your vision. The proportions of the sight are going to be kind of thrown out of whack, and it's just not the best setup, which is why I put the Nikon P-Tac spur on top of here. This is a great budget optic. I've put this on a few different builds now. They're coming in at sometimes just under $200. It's got some really nice Nikon glass in there, and it looks right at home here on the Uzi. There is also the rail up front here. I'm not sure what you would put on there. Maybe if you would SBR this thing and put like a vertical grip on there, something ridiculous. You could mount a light or laser on there, but then that's making this thing heavier than it already is. So I'm just gonna be keeping this thing in this configuration right here. Now before we get back to shooting, I do want to show you how small this thing gets when folded. You're going to see me struggle with this out on the range. It's not easy to do because this brace is so new, but if you use a lot of force, you can push it down out of the way, and then you get a package this size right here. You may already notice a little bit of a flaw, if you want to call it that, with this gun. Obviously the folding brace on there is to keep this thing small and compact. However, you're not going to be able to shoot this thing very easily in this configuration. The left side leaves it open for a left-handed shooter, but then again, you're shooting this thing basically one-handed, possibly two-handed, but you're just kind of holding it out in front of you. So let's head back to the range footage and I'll show you guys how this thing performed for the rest of the day. Now I mentioned that this thing seemed accurate with that first mag, but let's jump right into the tree and see if this red dot is actually zeroed or not. Yeah, I'd say that's pretty good. Now let's try rocking some 50-yard shots, just because, why not? Looks like I'm hitting a little bit high. That's a little better. I actually can't believe how high that's hitting. I'm aiming at the very lower section of my ADAP targets and it's hitting about center mass. Let's back it up to 100. All right, we're way far back here now. I typically don't shoot guns like this at distances like this, but let's just try it, see where we're hitting. Hey, there we go, we got one. All right, we'll just chalk it up as one. Now, from my experience with this brace is that since it is new, it is extremely difficult to actually get it to fold up. Once you break it past that one point, it does go, but let's see real time how long it takes me to fold this thing. All right, that was a weird way to do it, but there we go, now we got it folded. Now with this design, as you can see, I cannot fit my right trigger finger in there, so maybe I'll be able to shoot this thing while it's folded with just my left hand, but it's gonna be kind of awkward. I'm almost gonna have to shoot it one-handed or just kind of like hold on to the brace somehow. I don't know. Putting around in the chamber is weird. I don't know, just shoot it like this, I guess. Grip safety. All right, that is not the easiest thing to do, especially as being a righty, but no problem when the brace is out. Alright guys, back for some of my final thoughts on the UZI Pro pistol. It's probably very easy to tell by the videos that you just watched that I really did enjoy shooting this thing. For me personally, this doesn't really fit any practical roles, like could you use this for home defense or keep it as a PDW in a backpack or a car? Sure, you could do that. It's been reliable for about the 200 to 250 rounds that I put through it yesterday. But for me, the form factor and how this gun feels when you shoot it is enough to make it a super fun range toy, and this is one that I'm going to keep bringing out to the range with me whenever I want to go just shooting for fun. This thing was pretty damn accurate for me, especially for just dropping this red dot on top of here. I actually pulled this from an AR 9mm build, and I just kind of dropped it on there. Didn't do anything with it, and it seemed to be on right from the start. This 4.5-inch barrel did struggle a little bit once I got out to a distance. About 50 yards is when I was hitting somewhat consistently, but after that, once I moved all the way back to 100, it became a little bit more difficult. Now, why would you be taking 100-yard shots with an UZI? I mean, for fun. It was definitely fun to do that, but I think this thing is really going to shine within like the 30-yard distance. Now let's talk about the trigger on the UZI Pro. How is it? It's a trigger. Now, if you compare this thing to all triggers in the world, in the grand scheme of things, it's not really that good. However, on a platform like this, it's decent. I mean, it works. It is a curved and polymer feeling shoe. I'll have my thumb here on the grip safety. The take-up is, I don't know. You're not really shooting this thing to like feel the take-up in the wall like you would a traditional pistol. It's definitely heavy though. It feels like it is well over 5 pounds. And the brake, I mean, you can definitely feel it and hear it. The reset on this thing, letting out on the reset is actually pretty smooth, but from my experience with this relatively new platform, I found myself shooting this trigger almost like I was clicking a mouse. I would pull my sights right up on target. Once the red dot was centered, I would try to feel if there was any take up, and for the most part, I just found myself pulling right through to the wall, like literally clicking a mouse like this. Now again, for a platform like this, something in my opinion that is really used for fun and recreation more than anything else, I'm definitely okay with that. I think maybe if I shot this thing like a lot, it may smooth out a little bit. However, for just kind of plinking around the range, 9mm gun seems to be effective enough. The only other thing that I would really like to hit on is the whole top portion of this gun and the dust cover. This thing is fairly easy to field strip. You can remove the barrel nut in the front here and then pop this whole top plate off. Almost all of the components of this gun can come out fairly easily, and one thing to note is that this top rail on this like dust cover piece up here is extremely solid. Similar to the Galil that I reviewed a few weeks back. If you want to check out that video, I'll leave a link for it right up there. The top cover on that can also come off, and it seems like I would be able to pop this off and put it back on without losing a 0 with this red dot. The fit and finish of this thing is surprisingly very, very tight. The tolerances seem awesome. And from my first initial range session with the UZI Pro pistol, I think this thing will definitely remain reliable and hopefully have a few more years of shooting fun under its belt. So I believe that is all that I had for today. If you guys have any questions on the UZI Pro pistol, let me know in the comments down below. I'll try to answer anything possible. I think I have to go out and find some like 50 round stick mags for this thing, just because that would be awesome to have a little bit more capacity on here. So that's it. I'm definitely excited to shoot this thing a little bit more in the future, and maybe you guys will see that. So consider clicking subscribe, because I make new videos every week. That's going to be all for today. So as always, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you in the next one.